a Wikividi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Zodiac. The zodiac is an area of the sky that extends approximately 8 degrees north or south of the ecliptic, the apparent path of the Sun across the celestial sphere over the course of the year. The paths of the Moon and visible planets are also within the belt of the zodiac. In Western astrology, and formerly astronomy, the zodiac is divided into 12 signs, each occupying 30 degrees of celestial longitude and roughly corresponding to the constellations Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. The 12 astrological signs form a celestial coordinate system, or more specifically an ecliptic coordinate system, which takes the ecliptic as the origin of latitude and the Sun's position at vernal equinox as the origin of longitude. Name. The English word derives from the Latinized form of the ancient Greek zodiakos kyklos, meaning cycle or circle of little animals. Zoidian is the diminutive of zoo. The name reflects the prominence of animals among the 12 signs. Usage. The zodiac was in use by the Roman era, based on concepts inherited by Hellenistic astronomy from Babylonian astronomy of the Chaldean period, which, in turn, derived from an earlier system of lists of stars along the ecliptic. The construction of the zodiac is described in Ptolemy's vast 2nd century AD work, the Almagest. Although the zodiac remains the basis of the ecliptic coordinate system in use in astronomy besides the equatorial one, the term and the names of the 12 signs are today mostly associated with horoscopic astrology. The term zodiac may also refer to the region of the celestial sphere encompassing the paths of the planets corresponding to the band of about 8 arc degrees above and below the ecliptic. The zodiac of a given planet is the band that contains the path of that particular body. And more, the zodiac of the Moon is the band of 5 degrees above and below the ecliptic. By extension, the zodiac of the comets may refer to the band encompassing most short-period comets. Early history. The division of the ecliptic into the zodiacal signs originates in Babylonian astronomy during the first half of the first millennium BC. The zodiac draws on stars in earlier Babylonian star catalogues, such as the Muldot-Tapin catalogue, which was compiled around 1000 BC. Some of the constellations can be traced even further back, to Bronze Age sources, including Gemini, the Twins, from Mars.tab, Ba, Gal.gal, the Great Twins, and Cancer, the Crab, from Al.lul, the Crayfish, among others. Around the end of the 5th century BC, Babylonian astronomers divided the ecliptic into 12 equal signs, by analogy to 12 schematic months of 30 days each. Each sign contained 30 degrees of celestial longitude, thus creating the first known celestial coordinate system. Unlike modern astronomers, who place the beginning of the sign of Aries at the place of the Sun at the vernal equinox, Babylonian astronomers fixed the zodiac in relation to stars, placing the beginning of Cancer at the rear twin star, and the beginning of Aquarius at the rear star of the goatfish. Because the division was made into equal arcs, 30 degrees each, they constituted an ideal system of reference for making predictions about a planet's longitude. However, Babylonian techniques of observational measurements were in a rudimentary stage of evolution, and they measured the position of a planet in reference to a set of normal stars close to the ecliptic as observational reference points to help positioning a planet within this ecliptic coordinate system. In Babylonian astronomical diaries, a planet position was generally given with respect to a zodiacal sign alone, less often in specific degrees within a sign. When the degrees of longitude were given, they were expressed with reference to the 30 degrees of the zodiacal sign, i.e. not with a reference to the continuous 360 degrees ecliptic. In astronomical ephemerides, the positions of significant astronomical phenomena were computed in sexagesimal fractions of a degree. For daily ephemerides, the daily positions of a planet were not as important as the astrologically significant dates when the planet crossed from one zodiacal sign to the next. Hebrew astrology. Knowledge of the Babylonian zodiac is also reflected in the Tanakh, but is the first recorded astrological division into 12 constellations. elaborated on in the Talmuds, books of the Midrash Rebbe, and other minor works. E.W. Bullinger interpreted the creatures appearing in the Book of Ezekiel as the middle signs of the four quarters of the zodiac, with the lion as Leo, the bull is Taurus, the man representing Aquarius and the eagle representing Scorpio. Some authors have linked the 12 tribes of Israel with the 12 signs. Martin and others have argued that the arrangement of the tribes around the tabernacle corresponded to the order of the zodiac, with Judah, Reuben, Ephraim, and Dan representing the middle signs of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, respectively. Such connections were taken up by Thomas Mann, who in his novel Joseph and His Brothers attributes characteristics of a sign of the zodiac to each tribe in his rendition of the Blessing of Jacob. Hellenistic and Roman era. The Babylonian star catalogues entered Greek astronomy in the 4th century BC, via Eudoxus of Cnidos. Babylonia, or Chaldea in the Hellenistic world, came to be so identified with astrology that Chaldean wisdom became among Greeks and Romans the synonym of divination through the planets and stars. Hellenistic astrology derived in part from Babylonian and Egyptian astrology. Horoscopic astrology first appeared in Ptolemaic Egypt. The Dendera zodiac, a relief dating to ca. 50 BC, is the first known depiction of the classical zodiac of 12 signs. The earliest extant Greek text using the Babylonian division of the zodiac into 12 signs of 30 equal degrees each is the Anaphoricus of Hypsicles of Alexandria. Particularly important in the development of Western horoscopic astrology was the astrologer and astronomer Ptolemy, whose work Tetrabiblos laid the basis of the Western astrological tradition. Under the Greeks, and Ptolemy in particular, the planets, houses, and signs of the zodiac were rationalized and their function set down in a way that has changed little to the present day. Ptolemy lived in the 2nd century AD, 3 centuries after the discovery of the precession of the equinoxes by Hipparchus around 130 BC. Hipparchus' lost work on precession never circulated very widely until it was brought to prominence by Ptolemy. And there are few explanations of precession outside the work of Ptolemy until late antiquity, by which time Ptolemy's influence was widely established. Ptolemy clearly explained the theoretical basis of the Western zodiac as being a tropical coordinate system, by which the zodiac is aligned to the equinoxes and solstices, rather than the visible constellations that bear the same names as the zodiac signs. Hindu zodiac. The Hindu zodiac uses the sidereal coordinate system, which makes reference to the fixed stars. The tropical zodiac is divided by the intersections of the ecliptic and equator, which shifts in relation to the backdrop of fixed stars at a rate of 1 degree every 72 years, creating the phenomenon known as precession of the equinoxes. The Hindu zodiac, being sidereal, does not maintain this seasonal alignment, but there are still similarities between the two systems. The Hindu zodiac signs and corresponding Greek signs sound very different, being in Sanskrit and Greek respectively, but their symbols are nearly identical. For example, Danu means bow and corresponds to Sagittarius, the archer, and Kumbha means water pitcher and corresponds to Aquarius, the water carrier. Middle Ages. The High Middle Ages saw a revival of interest in Greco-Roman magic, first in Kabbalism and later continued in Renaissance magic. This included magical uses of the zodiac, as found, and more, in the Sefer-Azai el-Hamalek. The zodiac is found in medieval stained glass as at Angers Cathedral, where the master glassmaker, André Robin, made the ornate rosettes for the north and south transepts after the fire there in 1451. Early modern. An example of the use of signs as astronomical coordinates may be found in the Nautical Almanac and Astronomical Ephemeris for the year 1767. The longitude of the Sun columns show the sign, degrees from 0 to 29, minutes, and seconds. The zodiacal symbols are early modern simplifications of conventional pictorial representations of the signs, attested since Hellenistic times. 12 signs. What follows is a list of the 12 signs of the modern zodiac, where 0 degrees Aries is understood as the vernal equinox, with their Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, and Babylonian names denote the constellations only, not the tropical zodiac signs. Also, the English translation is not usually used by English speakers. The Latin names are standard English usage. Constellations. The zodiacal signs are distinct from the constellations associated with them, not only because of their drifting apart due to the precession of equinoxes, but also because the physical constellations take up varying widths of the ecliptic, so the Sun is not in each constellation for the same amount of time. Thus, Virgo takes up 5 times as much ecliptic longitude as Scorpius. The zodiacal signs are an abstraction from the physical constellations, and each represent exactly 1/12 of the full circle, or the longitude traversed by the Sun in about 30.4 days. The path of the Sun actually passes through 13 constellations recognized by ancient Babylonian, Greek, and Roman astronomers and the modern International Astronomical Union. Because the Babylonians had a 12-month lunar calendar, they chose 12 and divided the year up evenly. The 13th was left out, Ophiuchus, the bottom part of which interjects between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Occasionally this difference between the astronomical constellations and the astrological signs is mistakenly reported in the popular press as a change to the list of traditional signs by some astronomical body like the IAU, NASA, or the Royal Astronomical Society. This happened in a 1995 report of the BBC 9 O'Clock News, and various reports in 2011 and 2016. Professional astronomers generally consider astrology a pseudoscience which has been disproven by scientific experimentation. For example, in drawing a distinction between astrology and scientific astronomy, NASA notes that no one has shown that astrology can be used to predict the future or describe what people are like based on their birth dates. Some parazodiacal constellations are also touched by the paths of the planets, leading to counts of up to 25 constellations of the zodiac. The ancient Babylonian Muldot-Hapin catalogue lists Orion, Perseus, Auriga, and Andromeda. Modern astronomers have noted that planets also pass through Crater, Sextans, Cetus, Pegasus, Corvus, Hydra, and Scutum, with Venus very rarely passing through Aquila, Canis Minor, Auriga, and Serpens. Some of constellations are also mythologically associated with the zodiacal ones. Pisiostrinus, the southern fish, is attached to Aquarius. In classical maps, it swallows the stream poured out of Aquarius' pitcher, but perhaps it formerly just swam in it. Aquila, the eagle, was possibly associated with the zodiac by virtue of its main star, Altair. Hydra in the early Bronze Age marked the celestial equator and was associated with Leo, which is shown standing on the serpent on the Dendera zodiac. Corvus is the crow or even mysteriously perched on the tail of Hydra. Brought to you by Wikividi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?